They never feared you when you were struggling. They never feared you when you were lost. They never feared you when you were bleeding in silence. They only feared you the moment you stopped breaking, the moment your eyes went calm, the moment your voice went quiet, the moment your efforts stopped needing witnesses. That was the moment they realized they didn't create a survivor, they created a problem. They wanted a monster, not because you were born dangerous, but because you refused to stay weak. They pushed you, they doubted you, they laughed, they underestimated, they tried to break you when you were still figuring yourself out. And now they are uncomfortable with what they helped create. Understand this clearly from the start. This message is not for the soft, not for those who need approval, not for those who crumble the moment life tightens. It's grip. This is for the ones who were forced into the dark early, the ones who learned pain before, praise the ones who had to harden. Because the world never gave them the option to stay gentle. You didn't wake up one day and decide to be ruthless. You were shaped here every ignored effort, every unfair loss, every moment you were told you weren't enough. You swallowed it, you carried it, you sharpened yourself with it. And somewhere along the way, survival turned into hunger. Hunger turned into obsession. Obsession turned into discipline so cold it scares people who still live on. Excuses people love the idea of toughness. Until toughness stops being polite, they say be strong, be resilient, stand up for yourself. But the moment you stop apologizing, the moment you stop explaining, the moment you stop asking for permission, they panic because strength without softness makes people uncomfortable. You didn't become intense by choice. You became intense because weakness wasn't safe. You learned early that no one was coming, no one was saving. No one cared how tired you were, so you adapted while others complained. You trained while others slept. You sharpened while others waited for motivation. You moved anyway, not because you loved it, but because losing was unacceptable. And that's the part they will never understand. They think monsters are born. They don't. Realize monsters are built by pressure, built by rejection, built by loneliness, built by long nights. Where quitting felt logical but was never acceptable, you were forced to learn discipline. Before comfort, you were forced to stand alone. Before trust, you were forced to fight yourself before you ever fought the world. That's why your silence feels heavy. That's why your presence feels dangerous. You're not loud. You're not chaotic. You're controlled, and control is terrifying because a controlled mind doesn't panic under pressure. A controlled body doesn't hesitate under pain. A controlled spirit doesn't beg. When things go dark, it adapts, it endures, it dominates. People want your results without your sacrifices. They want your confidence without your suffering. They want your strength without your scars. But strength has a price. And you paid it in full. You paid with comfort, with relationships, with normality. With peace, you gave up being understood so you could become unstoppable. And yes, it changed you. You don't laugh the same. You don't trust easily. You don't waste words. You don't tolerate weakness, especially in yourself, because you know exactly where weakness leads. You've been there. You crawled out bleeding. And now the world wants to judge you for not being soft anymore. No, you didn't lose your humanity, you refined it. You didn't become heartless, you became disciplined. You didn't turn cold, you turned focused. There is a difference. You still feel, you still care. You just don't let emotions control the mission because you learned the hard way. Feelings don't build futures. Consistency does, pain didn't. Destroy you, it revealed. You pressure told the truth when life squeezed you. You didn't beg, you didn't fold, you didn't disappear. You adapted, you endured, you sharpened. And that's why you walk differently now. That's why your eyes don't wander. That's why your presence fills rooms without you saying a word. People sense you've been somewhere dark and came back with something dangerous. They wanted you tough. They just didn't expect you to become unbreakable. They wanted you disciplined, but not relentless. Confident, but not fearless. Strong, but not stronger than them. And now that you are, they call you a monster. Don't need validation. Monsters don't explain themselves. Monsters execute you. Don't wake up asking, how do I feel today? You wake up asking what needs to be done. You don't negotiate with pain. You don't argue with fear. You don't entertain excuses. You move, you adapt, you overcome every single day. You didn't choose this life because it was easy. You chose it because losing was unacceptable, because mediocrity felt like death, because deep down you knew you were capable of more and refused to live beneath your potential. And now you are living proof that suffering, when directed, creates something unstoppable. You are not here to be liked. You are not here to fit in. You are not here to be comfortable. You are here to win, to dominate. Your limits, to rewrite your ceiling, to become the version of yourself no one can control. So if they say you've changed, they're right. You're not weaker. You're not softer. You're not smaller. You're sharper, colder, more dangerous. And if They wanted a monster. Let them have what they asked for, because you didn't become this to scare people. You became this so nothing could ever break you again. And the truth they still don't understand is this: the moment you stop caring about being understood is the moment you become dangerous. Most people waste their lives trying to explain themselves, trying to justify their pain, trying to prove their worth. You stopped doing that. You realized something most never do. Explanations are for the weak. Results speak louder than words ever. Could you let silence do the talking? You let discipline become your language. You let consistency become your reputation. And that's when the shift happened. That's when life stopped testing you with small problems and started throwing real ones at you, because pressure is not punishment. Pressure is recognition. Pressure is life acknowledging that you are built for more than comfort. Weak people complain about pressure. Strong people use it to compress themselves into something unbreakable. You didn't break. When it hit you, adapted your stance. You lowered your center. You learned how to breathe inside the storm. You learned that pain doesn't mean stop. Pain means adjusting. Pain means evolving. Pain means you are still alive. There is a reason you don't panic anymore when things go wrong. There is a reason you don't flinch when plans collapse. There is a reason chaos doesn't shake you. You've already survived worse. You've already faced nights where the only thing keeping you alive was refusal to quit. So when life tries to intimidate you now, it feels almost insulting, like it doesn't know who it's dealing with. You walked through fire without witnesses. You carried weight that would have crushed others. You rebuilt yourself with hands shaking from exhaustion. You didn't ask for strength. You were forced into it. And now that you have it, you guard it like a weapon. Kindness without strength is weakness. Strength without control is chaos. But strength with discipline, that's dominance. You wait, watch, and calculate, only striking when necessary. That's why people misjudge you. They mistake your calm for softness, your silence for hesitation, your restraint for fear. They always do. Until it's too late, because the most dangerous people don't announce themselves. They don't posture. They don't bark. They move quietly. They train when no one is watching. They sharpen themselves in isolation. And when they finally act, there is no warning. You understand now why. Loneliness followed you not because you are broken, but because you outgrew environments that kept others comfortable. You couldn't stay where excuses lived. You couldn't breathe in rooms where mediocrity was normalized. You couldn't laugh at distractions that pulled you away from purpose. So you separated, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity, because growth requires distance, elevation requires isolation, and becoming something rare means walking a path most won't survive. There is a reason your standards are high. There is a reason you don't tolerate laziness. There is a reason weakness irritates you, especially your own. You've seen what happens when you slip. You've felt the cost of hesitation. You've lived the consequences of comfort. And you decided never again. You don't chase motivation anymore. You built systems, you built discipline, and you built habits that move you forward even when your mind wants to collapse. That's why your progress looks unnatural to others. That's why they say you're built different. You're not different. You're conditioned to move when it hurts, continue when it's lonely, and finish when quitting feels justified. You trained your mind the way warriors train their bodies, through repetition, pain, and refusal to quit. You learned early that talent, emotion, and motivation fade, but discipline stays. So you stopped relying on feelings and started relying on principles. You move even when you don't feel confident. You train even when you don't feel ready. And you show up even when you feel empty, because you know something others don't. Feeling strong is irrelevant. Being strong is a decision, and decisions don't need emotions. They need commitment. Setbacks don't destroy you anymore. They sharpen you. Failures recalibrate you. Betrayals make you selective. You stopped trusting words. You started trusting patterns. You stopped listening to promises. You started watching actions. This mindset sets you apart from most people, as many never learn. Instead, they repeat the same mistakes, blame the world, and attribute their